This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So VM, see, as a SQL DBA, are we really create the VM? Generally, we will create our templates, our own templates, and then we will create the VM from the templates. So first thing is, to create anything in the Azure cloud or anywhere for that matter, any cloud architecture, you need to have one subscription. First thing as a prerequisite, you have to have an activated subscription, then resource group, then resource. This is the hierarchy. Anywhere, any cloud model, you must follow this activated subscription first thing as a condition. Then you create your own resource groups. Then you create the resource under it. So this is the hierarchy it will follow. Okay, activated subscription, resource groups, and resources. So these two are mandatory things. Which one? The activated subscription, resource groups are minimum things to create any resource. Resource can be any service, in fact, here. To create any service, you need to have these are definite things you must have it. Okay, activated subscription and resource group. If I'm trying to create the VM here, first it is what it is asking mandatory things. You see the stars? It is asking your subscription, then it is asking for resource groups. So resource group anyway, you have to create one. It is a predefined object. You don't create as a SQL DBA. You have to claim existing resource groups generally. If the resource groups does not exist, you have to ask the infrastructure team. They do create the resource groups for us. As a DBA, you don't have to create resource groups, in fact, but you have to claim according to the project. There will be project. There are resource groups. You should know what resource group will be used for what projects. So if I wanted to create a resource group, just click on create under the resource group. So you see this one, resource groups. If I don't find this resource group under my favorites, what I have to do, I have to come to the all services, right? And then I'll type resource group. Okay. So here resource groups, if you don't find, you type it further. So here it is. If I click on this, if I click on the star, it will get added to my favorites. That way you should add it to your favorite if it is not available. Now I'm creating the resource group. It is so simple to create a resource group, in fact. So I'm going to go here, giving test RG just for the use case, test resource group kind of. Region, I'm going to keep it West India here, or else Central India. We have 3 regions in India. We'll talk about it anyway. Right, I'm creating this resource group. I'm going to talk about tagging. Tagging is very important. Oh, we will talk at the end. So how tagging will help us to track the billing of your resources as well as reporting also. It helps in 2 cases, in fact. So we will talk about it when we create more resources about the tagging. So I just created a test RG. You can see that in Central India region. Now I'm going to create a VM. So when I'm creating the VM, it'll ask for the first thing as prerequisite. It'll ask you the subscription. It'll ask you the resource group, and then creating the object. So the virtual machine name. Object name is very, very important to identify the resources down the line. When you create too many objects, you need to uniquely identify the object. To identify the object uniquely, you need to have certain naming convention to identify it. So what we follow in our environment, let me explain that. So if first 2 letters of the resource will actually indicate the environment. So if I go to here, PP production, productions, always all production servers will start with the PP, and all QA servers will start with QA, the name, and all staging servers will start with SS. Development servers will start with the DD. So I know first 2 letters indicate the environment. If by looking at the server, I understand that okay, the server belongs to which environment. Okay. Then region, EU. We have EU, EU2, East US, and East US2. A lot of servers we have for our client. Okay. First environment, then region, then project, and then server. SQL 01. So if I look at this name, I know the environment, I know the region where it is created, I know what project it is created for and what is the server count for now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under development, how many servers you created? You would need to follow the sequence. So this is how we are creating the server names in the cloud in our environment. So by looking at the server name itself, I get to know everything. I get to know environment. I know that where it is created. I know the which project this server belong to, and what is the server count for that project by looking at the number. So that way, you need to have your own conventions to easily follow the server environment to identify the resource easily, so that you can manage it so quickly when the environment becomes too big, finding the servers will become very tough. When you have certain naming conventions, you can easily remember, you can easily find the server and then start working on it kind of. So basically you must follow certain naming conventions. It is real time, you must follow it. If not, environment becomes very clumsy. Finding the resources also will become clumsy when you have too many resources. Okay. And the region. A region always need to be nearest to your client operation center where you are creating this resource. So this must be given by the business. You don't have to worry where that resources need to be created, because the client business knows that where he is running the business. So the PMOs will get the information, project coordinator will get that information in the beginning phase itself, where they have a business, most business and users are going to connect the systems. Based on that, we will decide it. Okay. Then availability zone. This is talks about a lot of things, in fact. So let's spend very good time here. We'll see there are availability options. If I click on availability set, there are two options you'll get it. One is fault domain, one is update domain. So these are all very, very important options for SQL VM. And for SQL VM in the sense, whenever you're going to configure always on, the servers must be part of the availability set. What exactly the availability set mean? Let me explain. This is very important. We'll spend a lot of time on that anyway. So somewhere Microsoft infrastructure is also physical. It is a cloud for us, virtual entirely. But for them, somewhere it is physical. So you have a data center, assume a case. Within the data center, you will place the servers inside the racks. There will be racks, right? Within the racks, the servers will be placed. So if I create a server, example, I'm creating A server, B server for always on. Just assume a case. Node A, node B, just for the case. If I create a server without availability set, A is created here, and without availability, B also created in the same rack. Okay, rack 1, 2, 3, something like that. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So each rack will have its own power cable and network cable to attached, to communicate with the rack and what are the servers inside in it. So if you create a server randomly, it will load anywhere in within the racks. In fact, the probability of both the servers going into one rack is possible. So if you are configuring always on this one, what is the meaning of always on? If one server goes down, other server should pick up the load in the event of failure. But both the servers are in the same rack. If the rack is down, both the servers will be down. You don't have a server redundancy. You lost the concept of availability, right? So to not to happen that, we're going to tag the server under availability so that it can protect the server to not to build a single rack. So when we keep the availability set to fault domain 2, what exactly the fault domain 2? Maximum fault domain I can go up to 3 only. Fault domain 2 mean if I'm creating two servers, one server got created in the rack 1, the next server will not create in this at all. It will create in a different rack. It will make sure. By default, it will make sure. You don't have to worry about. Okay. It will on its own, it will make sure inbuilt algorithm, it will distribute the server to different physical rack. So what exactly we are achieving on this? If the one server is one rack is completely down, still your other server is running on other rack, it will be functional. It will provide the availability. So the first part, this one, fault domain is mentioning how many racks you are going to consume for your build. So fault domain, let me explain this. Fault domain just make sure that if I create a third server, if I give a fault domain 3 as my region is supporting fault domain 3, If I create a third server, if I'm creating only two servers, anyway, fault domain 2 or 3 doesn't make sense. They are same. If I create a third server, then it makes sense. If I'm creating a third server, another read replica, it will go to different track for sure. It will go to different track physically. If I create a fourth server for some reason, the fourth server will be adjusted one of these racks, one of the rack where the resource is available. It does not go to fourth rack. This fault domain is saying that your group, the group under one availability set, I'm creating one availability set, AV, always on groups, AV set, just for the case. Okay, I'm creating, this is the name. Under this, whatever the servers I'm going to create for that availability group, I'm going to tag with the same name. All the servers. If I have two servers, three servers, four servers, five servers, I'll tag under the same so that the servers which are part of that availability set will get distributed physically into three physical racks, not into one rack all the time. So what it is going to protect? It is going to protect the servers against the unexpected events. Maybe the rack is down, the power cable is unplugged, or network cable, the Ethernet card is actually damaged. Some rat bite, something happened. Something happened. We are not able to communicate to the physical rack. So in that case, you have the server in other rack that is giving you the availability. So we are not keeping the dependency in a single rack. We are keeping in other rack also. So that way you get the good availability of the servers. Are you guys following what is fault domain mean? Fault domain will define how many servers you are creating, how many racks it has to distribute physically within the data center. Within one data center, when you are creating the number of fault domain, what it is defining, how many servers you have, like it doesn't matter, but your servers will get distributed among three racks here based on the number what you're giving it. If I'm creating two only, it will get distributed two only. Like going for the third will distribute to here. If I create fourth will be distributed among one of the rack which is already deployed. It will not go to the new rack anymore because this set will only try to keep all your servers into three different racks, not to the other rack. Getting?
Ravinder, this is same data center, right? Same data center,
Same.
different tracks.
Yes, it is same data center. Within the data center, what we are talking about. Okay,
Okay.
right. Next.
We will not go for another rack, like if we give more than.
No, you cannot. That's what this is saying. One set. If you create one more set, altogether different set of servers, different availability set, yes, that can go to the different track. That is possible. But within this availability set, you will stay within this track set only. What you already deployed. I have 1, 2, 3 already deployed. If I'm creating 4, 5, 6, then they try to accommodate here only in this rack. So it will not go to other racks at all because you are limited to three racks within that availability set. What you defined.
Okay, fault domain is indirectly telling how many racks that server should be distributed.
Right. That's
Okay,
correct. What you said is right.
okay, thank you.
It is
So
telling
Ravinder,
you, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ravinder. So in always on, I think this availability set is mandatory, right?
Yes, mandatory. Without that, you cannot go ahead. Definitely. But why it is required, you need to understand. That's why we are discussing.
Yeah. So if we have nine replicas, for example, so
Hmm.
we'll go with the fault default value equal to three only, right?
Three, one, maximum three.
Maximum three. Okay.
Yeah.
So it
So
will
this
randomly put my nine replicas in these three racks.
racks, exactly.
Okay.
Randomly. Yes, it will distribute the servers randomly here.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah.
So here availability group is same as availability set.
You availability group is a name which will be tagged just a logical object, but fault domain is something which will distribute based on the number what you give it. So availability group name is just a logical name. This is logical in fact, but what it is distributing, what you're defining under it, basically. So I'm keeping two or three, it matters there. I'm keeping three because it is supporting three to take the good advantage of it.
Yeah, I
So
think I think Ravinder, if we are going with one plus one scenario, then okay with the fault domain should be two. If we are
right.
going one plus two plus one scenario, then better we can go with three. correct?
So claim maximum. See, in case of you're adding one more node, that is going to also get distributed, right? You'll get the better availability in that case. So
Correct.
claim maximum, there is no charge for this. In fact, it's illogical. You're telling the Microsoft that I'm going to deploy up to 3 nodes or more than 3 nodes into my availability set. Please distribute them. You're consuming the same charges, I mean, same resources. It is not changing it, but you're getting the better availability. Try to claim maximum fault domain what the region is supporting. Some of the regions only support 2, but this region is supporting 3, which is good for us, right? So that way, if I change this to West India, let's see, in West India, you don't, it will only support 2. If I go to here, just a minute, I choose West India, right? Now I'm going to choose the availability set. Now if I'm trying to create, if I'm trying to go to 3, it is not supporting. You see this maximum platform fault domain count is a selected subscription is only 2. You cannot go to 3, only 2. So here you are creating more than 2 also, you are distributing into 2 physical racks only, not more than 2, because it's not supporting the region itself. So if the region is supporting more racks to be distributed, claim it, take the advantage of it. Maybe you may not create for the time being, future you might create, it is possible, right? That's the reason you claim it what it is supporting up to. Okay, that way it is good thing. I guess it is clear, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Ravinder,
Right.
usually another server will be in a different data center, right? In always.
That you have to go to multi-region. That is a different story.
Okay.
So within the region or multi-region is different story, right? So it is within the region what we are talking about.
Okay.
Right. Next, what is update domain? This is confusing thing. You just try to follow this chart, what I'm going to talk. So these two are go in hand. Fault domain. Sorry. Okay. So I'll keep here fault domain, then update domain. Here, this you need to just pay attention. This will be a little bit of confusing thing. Servers. Example, just for the case. I'll go with the multiple server set. You have the server 1 here. Okay, server 1. Let me write it 1, server 1 kind of. Here fault domain is 1. For update domain, so fault domain starts with 0. By default to 0, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, like that. And update domain is also 5. By default it is 5. It will be starting with 0. I'll tell you, I'll explain. This is little confusing concept. Server 2, here 1, here also 1. Let me write first and I'll give you the proper explanation on this. So then server 2, server 3, here 0 again, 2 if it is fault domain 3. Here it is, sorry, there above it should be 1, 2, server 4, it is 0 again. Okay, here it will be 3, server 5, here it is 1, here it is 4, server 6. I need more servers here so that you really understand what exactly the update domain is. It is 0, server 7, here again 0, here it is 1. I'll take one more and then start discussion. Server 8, here it is 1, here it is 2. So in one availability set, assume a case that you have 8 servers. Assume a case. So in this case, if you look at the fault domain 0, 1, 2, another set again 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, something like this. In case of one rack goes down, these 3 servers will be down. Rest of the servers are working fine for you. At any point of time, you have the protection on the server. Okay, that's a good thing. It is about unexpected events at the infrastructure level. But what about the like planned events? Like Microsoft also should do the patching at OS level. Microsoft also should apply the security updates time to time to protect the infrastructure against the hackers and all that. So when they do the patching, they go with the update domain by update domain. They apply the update domain all zeros first, then all ones first next. So then two. So just try to follow this. This is a little tricky thing. If you are creating thousands of availability sets, one availability set for one always on group. If you are going with another always on group, another availability set again, they are different, they are independent. You should not keep them under one availability set. Every always on group or every configuration, whatever it requires more than one server for its purpose. Any configuration for that matter. If you go to load balancer, application servers also behind the load balancer, there will be group of servers will be working for you. All those servers also should go with the availability set only to have the availability. So there will be lot of update, availability sets, lot of availability sets. So in that case, whenever they work on the availability sets, they go with the update domain. Update domain is for the Microsoft, not for us. So update domain by default 5, let it be 5 only. Don't make that value to lower. So what exactly 5 mean? If I have only 2 servers, assume a case, they'll patch the 0. Once it is restart, made online, then they'll patch 1. So at any point of time, they are not touching you all of the servers at one go if the server is an availability set. What is availability set for us? Availability set means some servers are working in a group. If one server goes down, other server should pick up. So they should not shut down all the servers at any point of time. If they are shutting down all together in the set, that doesn't make sense. The configuration entire set does not make sense for us. So it is indication to Microsoft that we are created these servers under availability set. You go one by one. Or if I have more servers, you give an availability the update domain as 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, again 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So whatever is falling with 0, all will be these two patched first. These servers will go down in this out of 8 servers, and they will be patched, restarted, made online. They verified through the algorithm. Then they will touch the 1. So at any point of time, 2 servers will be down, not all. Okay, if I come here at any set, only in one patching cycle, 2 servers are down, the rest of the servers are serving the business. In this chart, I can say, if I have only 4 servers, assume a case, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So at a time, one server will be down. The rest of the 3 servers are serving your business. So update domain is for the Microsoft planned events. This is for the unexpected events. You cannot expect if the rack is goes down, the entire Hyper-V host that for the track is not responsive. The software is corrupted, hardware is corrupted. Maybe the power cable itself is unplugged because of some reason. The network cable which is feeding to the track entirely damaged. The reason could be anything. Still, you have the availability in other rack. This is unexpected events. It is protecting against unexpected events. This is something planned events. It is a Microsoft is doing it. They are upgrading their infrastructure time to time to protect it. So update domain is for
Ravinder,
them. Yeah, go
uh,
ahead.
so that fault domain is basically for one availability set, and update domain is basically for a multiple availability set, likewise.
No, not multiple availability set. Same availability set. Under one availability set, Microsoft, when they patch it, they should not bring every server down. We are indicating them by giving the numbers to each server. Update domain, if I create a first server, it will come with 0, second server with 1, third server it is 2. So when they patch it, they will patch all zeros once across all availability sets. When they patch availability set, they'll treat as a different patching cycle. When they patch it, they'll patch all zeros at one go. All zeros of the availability set, all means there could be n number of availability sets created by the people. for their purposes, when they patch it on availability sets, they'll patch all 0 servers which are tagged with. Rest of the servers are serving the business. They'll patch one. Once the 0 is patched, made online, verified by the algorithm, then it will start work on the update domain 1 server.
So Ravinder, this zero means this zero may be on different servers. Server one is zero and server six is zero. So this
That's
server
correct.
one is not a part of server six AG group, right? So zero will be first patched and rebooted properly, and then it will come to one,
Right, that's correct. These two
right?
will be done first, then two will be done, then these two
Yeah.
will be done, one after the
But
other.
yeah, but this server one and server four, sorry,
Uh,
server six, not a part of one AG group. It might be different
no,
because my AG group was not down that time.
no. These are all one AG I'm trying to say here. One AG, one availability set. Another AG, another. There is no relation between them. We are only
No, no,
trying to understand one group.
my question is I have one AG group and
Hmm,
I have two replicas.
hmm,
One replica, server one is update domain 0, server
hmm.
6, second replica 0. So both the AG governments, both the
Mm,
replicas will be rebooted at the same time?
No. In one availability set, understand this. One availability set,
Hmm.
you have two servers. One will be zero, one will with one only. It will not. You cannot go with
That's what
zero.
I'm saying. Correct, correct. So
Yeah.
one AG group, one server will be rebooted first. Another
Yes,
server
one
will
will.
provide the data service, correct?
Right. That's correct. When they are doing it, the server, when they are working on only zero first, all zeros once. So
Yeah.
once it is rebooted, made online, verified by the algorithm, it will verify the algorithm. It will look for the service, is it available or not. Then it will touch base with the
Mhm.
second one. So that way it is.
Okay. Got it.
So that your server will be available all the time. Either unexpected
Yeah.
events or planned events. Still you have the availability of the server.
So if these all are part of one server, AG group, all servers, then how their fault domains are different, right? When we created one availability set, we set a fault domain to one specific value, but now for these servers, you have given different. So in a availability set, all the servers can have different fault domains.
In a
That's
one
like,
availability
yeah.
set, yes. And if you wanted to go with the every server need to have a different availability set, you can give the higher number. Maybe it will support up to like 220, up to 20.
No, but I'm
Again,
talking about fault domains. Because fault
fault.
domain also you are varying na in one availability set for different servers you are giving different fault domains. Can you just
Right,
show
right.
this
See,
practically also? Yeah. In
yes,
availability set how, yeah.
we're going to see this practical. First, understand the concept. That is the only intention here. First, making you understand. Then I'm going to show how it works, how it tags the servers under availability set. So you have three servers here. Assume against 8 servers you have. So fault domain three here, three, right? So first server will go to first rack, second server will go to another rack, third server will go to another rack, any random rack. The fourth server will adjusted in any of these existing racks, not any other rack. That's what I'm saying here. If you
Okay.
created fault domain three servers created, fourth server will be created in one of these racks only. It will not go to fourth rack at all. It will adjust here only.
Okay.
So that way it will.
Ravinder,
Yeah, go ahead, please.
do you have any unexpected downtime from update domain as well, or like suppose if it is unexpected down, then entire our availability sets will be down, or
Actually, it will happen. They will have their own planned DRs by the in a year at least once. They'll inform every client anyway. So they are going
okay,
to do major drill on their infrastructure side. But when they are doing, they make sure that your availability servers at least protected during the major drill also. You don't see the abruptions because you created availability set means you wanted to make your business online at any point of time. So they
yes, yeah,
also should follow you to make your infrastructure running all the time. How do they make sure? With the help of the availability set only.
okay.
So that way your
Ra-
always on at least will protected. Go ahead.
Ravinder, for standalone servers also, does it require all
No,
availability
no, no,
set?
no, no. It doesn't work. It's just
Yes.
always on. Whenever you need more than one server for any configuration, this discussion will apply. Whenever
Okay.
standalone, this will not apply. Standalone, you create anywhere, it will be anyway not protected. If it is rack one, it will go into one rack only ultimately. It's
Okay.
one
All the
server only. It
servers
doesn't
will
have any
be.
dependence. Yeah.
So whenever the planned event is happen, only server 1 and server 6 in this case will be go down, and at that
Hmm.
time other server will be supporting. Correct? Sorry,
That's correct.
update domain.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay.
What you said is absolutely correct. Fine. Let's move on. If you all understood this thing, okay? Fine. So now here you got a good idea what is a fault domain, update domain. It's clear, right? Any question, please let me know. Fine.
In
I'm going to show that.
availability, how many servers you create max of how many servers?
Can you come again, please? Your voice was broken. Can you please come again?
In available in availability set, how many servers we can mention maximum?
There is no maximum kind of. We can create a number of servers, but the servers will get distributed within 3 racks, and the update domain, whatever the value you give it, it will repeat after that value. So generally, you can create hundreds of servers also. It is fine as long as the physical host is can support. So one thing, what happens? This is a good question, in fact. So this rack is small. First server got created here. Second server got created. Third rack. This server is small. I'm creating more and more servers in the same availability set. This is exhausted already. All these machines will migrate to new host automatically, where there is a good scope again to accommodate further. Like new servers are coming in, but this host is exhausted already. But this restriction is telling that keep in this set only, but this set is not sustaining with the new servers. This host, the entire host set, it will auto migrate to the online migration. That too, it will migrate. DRS, will call it as DRS at the Hyper-V level. If the host is existed, it doesn't have the physical resources to accommodate, it automatically migrates the set to the different physical host automatically. That you don't have to worry about. The infrastructure will take care. But what you need to understand is this concept. Okay, this is what you need to understand. Fine. So now availability set you clearly understood. Security type we'll talk about in the networking, and operating system. This is the next important thing you need to understand. In under operating system, you have lot of options you have to choose for your business. In fact, so all images. Let's click on this. It should display right. If you see this one, if I click on Windows Server, and you see how big list of server operating system you can see here. So you need to choose what your client is using. So we are using 2019 data center edition for all production servers, 64-bit. Okay. So if your client is specifically asking certain OS, maybe it is sometimes people do ask. So in that case, you will find in this list anyway. Okay. So if you go to the Windows, you have the Unix flavors. Under Unix flavors also, you can see this. You have the desktop operating system also. Why you need a desktop operating system in the cloud? You need to create a jump host. In fact, certain cases we have to create jump host. You'll enter into jump host and start working in the cloud. I'm going to talk about that in the networking. We need to have jump host to protect our servers better. In fact, not to directly enter into backend servers. You go to proxy server. From the proxy server, you enter into backend servers. So there in the proxy server, you don't need a server operating system. Client desktop version is enough to save the billing, in fact. So there are reasons why they have created client operating system, Windows 10, Windows 11, all that. Okay. And if you see this one, Windows 7 family also still have it. And if you look at the Unix side operating systems, so if you look at the Unix side operating systems also, they given good number of different versions. These are all Unix side. See here, right? So these are all Unix side. So here there are a lot of operating systems. You need to select according to your client need, in fact. Okay. So in generally what we use in our environment, Windows Server 2019 data center generation 2 VMs, it is 64-bit operating system. These are the VMs we use. These are the operating system we use in all production servers for now. Windows Server 2022 also is released but not fully stabilized. So maybe in the near future we might use it, but for now, what is the latest? What we are using in our environment is Windows Server 2019 Data Center Generation 2 VMs. Okay, use this one. I mean, you will get the instructions in your environment anyway from the infrastructure side. What their standard is right now using it for the across the board, that will be defined by the your infrastructure team, your management. You don't have to worry about as a SQL DBA. That will be taken care. VM architecture 64-bit all the time. All like latest applications always go with the 64-bit. No one goes the 32-bit or on all that. Okay, Azure Spot instance I'll cover tomorrow. Today you don't understand. Let's spend again good time on the size of the VM. Which VM I had to choose? There is a lot of families. If you look at, I have the general purpose computers. If I look at the here also general purpose, let me show the memory optimized, GPU optimized, and you see the general purpose again, memory optimized computers, compute optimized computers. So what are these in fact? There are a lot of different family computers we have in the cloud. When do we have to each use each one, right? So let's talk about this first, and then I'll come to this. So any company will follow this architecture. Try to follow. Every discussion is important to follow everything. I have a load balancer. Behind the load balancer, I have the web servers or app servers, and I have a database server, one database server. And it is internal applications. Internal, you'll have it. External applications from external, whatever it is. We'll talk about this internal, external. I'm going to explain in practical the load balancer concept. So now, if I'm trying to hit this one, you will only expose a load balancer, but in the background, multiple servers are serving the business, your applications, in fact. And these application servers will contact the database for data. Application server only will give you the UI page, nothing else. It'll just load you the front end page. But actual data within the front end, in the pages, whatever it is loading, data come from the database servers. So this web server is actually processing the request, not processing the data. It required more CPU power than the RAM. It is not processing any data at all within the system. The data is processed by the DB server, not by the web servers. So web server should be created with the more number of CPUs, less GB of RAM, because it does not cache any data. Database server should have the less CPUs, more GB RAM, so that it can cache the more data, give you the better results. So this should go with the compute optimized. This should go with the memory optimized. Generally for the production I'm talking about. Okay, there is a family of computers we have. First, general purpose computers. General purpose computers are the cheapest computers in the cloud, in the Azure cloud, at least. General purpose computers are the cheapest computers. All pre-prod servers should be created under general purpose to save the money. You have to save the money. So general purpose computer does not scale with actual huge load. They will have a limited load. They can sustain with. But in the pre-prods, you are going to test in the backend. You're not going to submit those servers for the live traffic. So for the testing purpose, they will serve the purpose, in fact, right? So you can save the money. So this is the text from the Microsoft. So you will use these servers in a testing and development environment. That is what the intention behind they created with the less cost. And compute optimized are created for the app servers and web servers, where the more processing required, but there is no data processing, more request processing. So all web servers and app servers should be deployed under compute optimized family. All production database workloads should go to memory optimized. It is a production I'm talking about specifically. All production servers should go into memory optimized only to get the better performance. If I create a database server under compute optimized, though you are giving a good power to the system, it does not scale. It is not meant for that. The family is meant for something else, like the web servers, app servers only. The design is already made and it is compatible with that kind of applications. So your database, if you wanted to build a database, you definitely have to go to memory optimized family only for the production database servers. If it is a pre-prod, you go to the general purpose anyway. And storage optimized. All data warehousing, all big data platform servers should go into storage optimized. Storage optimized, storage act like a RAM. It is very costly server than memory optimized. Storage optimized computers are really costly than any other computer. Why? Because your storage is ultra premium, solid state disks. They act like a RAM. Your disk also as good as RAM. Okay, they are very costly. In fact, these servers are not cheap at all. You don't claim the server unnecessarily it is required. So you have to just check the business use case is really required, and the IO side they are not at all compromising on the IO queues. They wanted the response so quickly from the system, then you will go with it. It is only for the big data platforms where data is not very big. You have the petabytes of data, but still you want the performance from the system. You can go with the storage optimized. And data warehousing means all our ETL jobs will load the data into the data warehouse, and it has to process data as quickly as required by the business. Then go for the storage optimized. And this is very costly. You have to keep in mind. GPU optimized. Here, graphical processing unit. What exactly it means? GPU computers will give you the better visualization. Where you wanted the visualization, only when you wanted, you see the pictures, videos. If you talk about Amazon Prime, Netflix, so they'll have better visualization when they load the data in the GPU optimized computer. If your data is not showing well, which means the backend data, where it is streaming from, is not supporting that format. To support that video format, better visualization format, you need to go to the GPU optimized computer only. So every family has its own definition in the background. You have to go to each family based on the usage of the computer. Without knowing the usage of the computer, you are not supposed to create a VM. You should know it. It is database or it is app server, it is some other server. What is the purpose of the VM? You should know it. Then only you can deploy in the right family and get the right performance. So that's what these families are mean in the list. When we are looking at the list here, you have the general purpose, you have a memory optimized, you have a GPU optimized, you have different types of computers we have seen here, right? So these are all you have to claim according to the need. But when you practice, always go with the general purpose computers because they are cheap. Because as an individual, we cannot pay more. Memory optimized computers are costly. In fact, it is not cheap for individual to deploy and then work on it. They're costlier computers in the cloud. So to play around as an individual, you always create the VMs under general purpose only, so that you'll get the cheaper computers and you can see functionally they are same. OS wise and computing, only the difference is performance here. Only performance will differ family to family according to the workload. But if you wanted to explore something to understand, you can go with the general purpose and do everything what you do on the database side also, only for the exploration purpose. It is won't differ in terms of functionality. Functionality is same. All families are same, but performance wise, based on the workload, they differ based on the business type you're deploying on the machine. I guess you all are catching me. This is very important point you need to catch. Without knowing this, you cannot scale the VMs. In fact, you should know it. What is the purpose of the VM? I'll go with the 1 CPU, 1 GB RAM intentionally, so that I can show that how do we scale a VM if required. Any question on this? I mean, on the computing family? Please go ahead if you have it. I'm done. These are all different computing families we have, and there is a purpose behind each family. You have to choose according to the need. There is a I mean, time to time you have to, if it is database server, pre-prod servers, go with the general purpose. If it is a production, go with the memory optimized. These are two families we use it as a SQL DBA. Okay, all developers will use a computer optimized family servers, pre-prod, prod, anything basically. Then you,
Ravinder,
yeah, go ahead please.
I'm sorry. Could you please provide me yeah, this one. So at least I will understand more on it. The general purpose and compute optimized, basically we're using for the SQL perspective, right? Rest.
Uh, Rest, this will be app servers and web servers. This will be for data warehousing servers. These are video streaming servers.
Okay. Okay.
better visualization servers, like where you need the visualization application side. You don't need a visualization. You need to see the web page. That's it. But when you load a video and playing the video, you need a good visualization. The server need to support that visualization also.
So for example, if I have a VFX company, then we have to go
Right.
with this GPU optimized kind of. Okay.
Exactly. What you said is correct. That is where
Thanks.
it will be used.
Okay.
So once it is selected, whatever the servers, like you have selected general purpose, so it is
Hmm.
fixed for all the time, means in
No,
your
no.
project initial stage.
You can change it anytime to any time to any family to any family. Even if by mistake deployed into general purpose a production server, and then later on you wanted to switch it to memory update, you can switch it with a 1 minute downtime. It is possible. Any family to any family you can migrate. It is. I'm going to talk about that. We're going to discuss it anyway. Scale up and scale down. Maybe a production pre-prod server, you built it and they build everything. It is the initial phase. The pre-prod, they wanted to make it a production. That itself they wanted to migrate. You can migrate to memory optimized. We will talk about the use cases, don't worry. Migrating one family to other family, if it is by mistake deployed, we can do that. Then one default user must exist on the VM who has a local administrative privilege to join into the domain. If it is domain access is lost or anything happened, you need to have at least one local account to enter into the VM directly without a domain and do the administration on the VM. So this is a mandatory one account. You must create it. Without it, you cannot do it. And this should have a 12-digit password, else it won't accept. Fine. I'm not going to talk about inbound. We're going to spend 3 classes on the networking side on the rule set itself. There I'm going to pick it up. I'm skipping something today means VM is made of many things. It is made of storage, it is made of network, it is made of a lot of dependable objects. We cannot conclude in a single class because I need to conclude one by one, then you get the overall picture on the VM service anyway. This I'm skipping for now. I was telling the hybrid benefit, if you guys remember. If I use on-prem server, I have already Windows licensing. If I use the same license on the window on cloud VM, I'll get the up to 49. Up to, it is not exactly flat 49, up to. If you have a bigger VM, you get the more discount. See, try to understand. If I use this option, I confirm, the bill will come down 799 to, let's see what will the price it is going to show, 589. If I go with a little bigger VM, just for the case, so without this, so what will be the charge? 10,255. If I go with it, what will be the charge? So 4,900. So it depends, there will be calculated algorithm will take place. You don't have to worry about. So the higher the size, the better the discount you get. The lower the size, you get the less discount. That's the funda they follow it, in fact. Okay, this is licensing. If you already have the license, use the same on-prem license in the cloud VM. You have to change the license key in the Windows operating system. You don't have to do this. The Windows team will do it anyway for you. Next, disks. I'm not going to touch these 2 tabs for today. Okay, because we're going to spend 2 classes on this, 3 classes on this. In the everything we're going to discuss in this. This will take 2 classes, in fact, literally. I'll start tomorrow onwards on the disk work itself. We have significant discussion on the disk because disk is a very important factor for the performance. Our disk will be used to migrate data from one server to other server. Using the disk, you can recover the server even if it is deleted by mistake. You can scale the disk, you can scale down the disk based on the workload that you're doing. We're going to discuss it is very important. So these 2 tabs I'm not touching for today. We'll spend good time. I mean, tomorrow I'll start on this. Once this is get over, I'll enter into the networking side. Don't worry. Let me start with the management itself. I'm skipping these 2, which doesn't mean that I'm going to skip every single thing I'm going to discuss as we start about it. So now, identity management. Who can manage these VMs? What domain it is part of? All that we can define in the identity management only, not now. I'm when I'm going to discuss about Active Directory, there we're going to discuss about it. Auto shutdown. If a VM need to be auto shutdown at some point, why we need to shut down? What is the benefit we're going to get if we shut down? That's something I'm going to talk about tomorrow itself. We have a discussion on this tomorrow, not today. At least shutdown. There are two options: stopped and deallocated. When you shut down from the portal, it will get deallocated. What is the difference between the shutdown and deallocated? Then you understand what is the meaning of auto shutdown, why we need to do, what is the benefit out of it. So there I'll clearly give you the fair idea. Backup restore. A VM need to be backed up regularly. In case of crash, I'll do the intentional crash, I'll do the recovery of the VM. That we will see in the storage. In the storage, we're going to create storage services. We can take the VM backup into the storage services, in fact. So there I'm going to cover this one. Let's cover this one. Guest OS guest updates. This is important. So if you come to here, there is one tab. Understand this one. Do you wanted your machines to be passed by the Microsoft at free of cost? They'll do it for you through their SSCM. They'll do through their SSCM. You have to give them one downtime window for them. They will do it. If you don't want them to do, because what happened, like I'll tell you my use case. Initially our cloud servers used to be updated and patched through the Microsoft cycle only, but there were some deployment. They clashed with the Microsoft deployment. They don't change. You gave a time, they'll follow it. So this deployment very badly need to be deployed, and because of the Microsoft patching, this deployment actually failed. They got escalated from the business. So then they change the cycle to the manual. When it is a manual, our infrastructure team need to do the patching, not the Microsoft. You do it yourself, cloud VM patching within the VM, the operating system patching, you yourself can do, or Microsoft also will do it for you. You choose the any of the option, which is anyway not costing you extra. But if you give it downtime, you are clashing deployment, you definitely have to compromise that. Microsoft, you cannot go them and ask an ad hoc that I need only the server need to be exempted. They'll have a pool of servers, they'll deploy it on it. In fact, they'll follow only the times what you given, but there is a clash with the deployment on the server on which you gave the deployment to the Microsoft. So that's the reason we already and we went with automatic, but we are doing manually now because of that clash and escalation from the client. It is up to your environment how they are choosing it. So this is the safest thing, I would say. Any question on this?
But you have said there is availability sets and server one, server down, the domain
No, it's
break.
not about that. That will be taken care. That is something infrastructure level. They have to do it their hardware level. That is which is a virtual object, right? See, oh, don't confuse there. When they do the patch, rack means a physical host, a large physical host. I'm going to tell you just in few minutes. So this is a physical host. On top of physical host, you are building the virtual machines. This is what you are buying it. You are buying a virtual machine, not the physical host. They are going to apply the patch to physical host. There you see the downtime. That is unavoidable. But
Okay.
within the VM, you have the operating that you need to patch.
Understood.
Got it?
Sorry. Yeah.
You got it right?
So Ravinder,
Yeah. Go ahead.
hi, this is Mekla. I just kind of wanted to comment on the recommendation you made about the manual patching, even though it's a PaaS environment. Just wanted to share with the class, and maybe Ravinder, you might have gone through this experience. One of my last contracts I was working, the patching was in our environment in Azure was actually configured to automatic patching, which presented a huge impediment, a huge issue in a production environment
Right.
because we were actually having a deployment of one of our very mission critical applications that particular weekend. So when the automatic patching takes place in a PaaS environment, Microsoft does not coordinate that time for patching with us. They just
Right.
automatically just execute the patching, and it created a lot of conflict with our deployment in a production environment. So I would agree with Ravinder to do it more of a manual update, so we can coordinate with our development team, especially if DevOps, if you guys are heavy on DevOps or agile environment. So this would definitely be a good option to monitor the patching and any rollbacks that might need to happen.
Right,
Just like,
but here it is IAS model. You can ask this one. It is a PaaS model. You cannot do that. Only Microsoft can do it.
oh, got it.
You
Okay,
don't.
got it.
You don't have a
I
choice
thought
at
we
all.
were, got it. I thought we were in past environment. Sorry.
Yeah, it is a PaaS environment. Here, at least, it's IaaS environment, the infrastructure as a service. There, you have at least an option to choose yourself whether Microsoft should do or you can do it. But if it is a PaaS environment, there is no choice that we can do it. They only have the infrastructure access. They only do the updates. There, we cannot do it. So that's two different things. Yeah, we'll touch base there when we start the PaaS environment. We are on the IaaS model right now. So in the PaaS model, we don't have it. Yeah, but if they would have given any better control for us, that could have been better. But in the PaaS model, there is no such choice. You have to give it time; they'll follow it. That's for sure. All right. So manual updates. Manual updates are automatic. It's up to you. Choose according to your need. And monitoring. This is very important.
Ravinder, one doubt. Like, suppose if we have two replicas, can we give one replica at one time and the second replica at different times so that it will not be impacted?
What do you mean by replica?
Like, suppose if we are using IAS, we are using availability group with the two replicas.
Okay, so that will be handled by default using the update domain. You don't have to worry about
Okay.
that. Update domain is for them only, for these kind of activities only. They don't do the
Oh,
patching in parallel. They do it, in fact, one after the other. As long as it is a clustered, it is protected. Good enough. What about the standalones? Mostly
okay.
standalones are the servers, right? So the
Hmm.
major impact on the standalones, right? So there, this discussion applies. If it is already part of availability set, this automatic patching is okay. I mean, they are doing it is still okay.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
So standalones, yes, you have to take care. That's fair. You cannot give some to them, some to us. So that's why either give it or take it entirely. The responsibility of patching.
Okay.
Right. Next, monitoring. This is very important, guys. Again, enable the monitoring with the story account all the time. If the server is not responding for any reason, how do I know what reason it is not responding? And what is the reason it got stuck in the background? You must enable that. So I'm going to create a situation in our class. There is a situation if the server is got completely hung, it is not responding forever. You can recover that from that situation doing one option that is suggested by the Microsoft only. It's not my solution or anyone's solution. It is a Microsoft solution. I'm going to explain that. We went through that situation. We could recover multiple times. I'm going to explain that. But here, how do you know at least that what reason it got hung? When you enable with the boot diagnostic. Boot means what? When the VM is restarted, when it is booting up, it need the resources, initial resources to load the operating system to come online. But it is not getting the resources. So what reason it is not getting the resources to not to come online? It will write a log in the story account. And this is explicitly we're going to talk about this. We have a discussion where I'm going to show this. I'm going to show that it hung, and this is how you recover from the hung status if the VM is not at all responding in the cloud. We'll see that as separate discussion. But when we are creating any VM, enable with the story account to write a log and to read a log from the story account. Advanced. This is very, very important again. This is where again we will spend good time. Extension. Extension you don't need on the SQL VMs anyway. Maybe this application related extension, server protection related extension. It might be business to business. I never seen anybody asking, and we installed this extension on the VM. These are all third-party softwares. If you install on the VM, it will not display the charge of that software. They will give you at the end of the month only the estimation of that software cost, because it is a vendor based. Vendor how much is going to charge, they will charge the Microsoft will charge you. So indirect billing. These are third-party software. So some are third-party, some are Microsoft. I never seen anybody asking on the SQL Server installing that extension, but that is a third-party software. If required, people can do it. And VM applications, this is for the internal applications not required, and custom data also. You wanted to execute one script on every VM it is.
Excuse me, Ravinder. Just one
Yeah.
thing. So I think, can you repeat that part, like how you fix that under the diagnostics, which you were telling, like if it is in hung state, so what step we need to follow through the logs? We have to check.
That I did not cover yet, but I'm just showing you when you can read that
Okay.
log when you enable this.
Okay. Okay.
Enable the story account, then you can read it. How you're going to read it, I'll show you how to read it. How you recover from the situation also, I'm going to show that. But that comes in the practical part. I mean, the tomorrow onwards we'll go through the practical, lot of practicals. So next, extensions, applications, custom data. This not applies to. This is mainly they use for the Unix flavors where they wanted to run some scripting. Okay, this is important for us. You want to enable the enhanced prop. See, NV. See, this is a storage layer. Your subscription not registered for this is separate storage. You know, like higher storage performance. This is equivalent to SSDs. In fact, lesser than SSD, greater than a hard disk. In between, NMVs here is solid state discharge is far advanced, and in between there's a mid-level storage devices where you can claim the storage. It comes at extra cost, but this is not applying for me because I'm not a corporate subscription. In fact, host group. This is what someone asking anyway. Dedicated host cannot be used in availability sets. What is host group? Let me tell you this. Azure pricing. So under pricing, products, I guess. Products, right? Compute. Under pricing, under the Microsoft website, pricing, compute. There is something called dedicated host. Do you see anywhere here? Here it is. Azure dedicated host. Click on this. So you wanted to buy one entire physical dedicated host for any reason. Where the list is gone. Right, this is exactly what I was looking for. So I don't want a VM. I wanted to buy a physical host. So here you are buying the physical VMs all the time, but I don't want that. I wanted to buy the entire physical host itself. You can buy it. On top of it, you can create a number of VMs, small, big. It's up to you. You have an entire physical. You're owning it. But physical host cannot come with availability set because it is physical host, and you're not buying logically. You're buying physically. There is no availability set. You bought it here. They cannot give you another standby physical host for you. So if you are creating a VM within the physical host, you cannot give the availability set. Only standalones you have to run from there. That is one limitation you need to understand. So here, when we are creating you already have a physical dedicated host, you can select it from the top down. If it is there in that region, you can select, else you cannot select. But how powerful the physical host, in fact. See, minimum it comes with the 112 cores, 768 GB RAM on this one, 112 cores, 768 GB RAM, 96 cores, 672 GB RAM. These are all very powerful machines, in fact. Okay, you have small to big anyway. You can buy it if you want. You can buy it. But this does not give you the availability options in case of you're going with any availability configurations. Only standalones you need to run on that host. Again, this pay as you go, I cannot buy this host at all as an individual. Only corporates can buy. If I wanted to buy, I need to raise a case with a Microsoft. Yes, I'm going to use this big server for my business. I am ready to pay. Please enable me to buy. I cannot buy individually for now as a pay-as-you-go workload. If I wanted, I have to raise a case and talk to the sales team. I need to enable that option. That is an explicit operation. By default, they will not let you to buy if you are not a corporate, subscription. If you are a personal subscription like pay-as-you-goes are always personal, in fact. So in that case, you cannot buy a physical host. Okay, there comes with the very higher configuration, right? So if you see the RAM, all are above 500 GB RAM almost, right? So they will not let you to buy unless you are requesting them to buy. Okay, you go to see this one, 192 CPUs, 4 TB RAM on the single machine itself. You can buy, and this is the charges. Charges you can see in Indian rupees. You wanted to see in dollars. Um, whatever the dollars you wanted to see, it will display in dollars. The pricing you can change it according to you are where in which country. Then you can go and check in that country region, cost impact. So if you go to here, you are paying for this per hour 2,736 rupees. And if you buy for 1 year upfront, you are paying upfront means you are paying in advance for 1 year. So 31%. Um, if I pay for 3 years, maximum you can buy a host for 3 years maximum period. They will not let you to allow more than that. 3 year is a maximum. So example, any host for that matter. If you look at the thing, if I'm going here, if I'm buying for 3 years, I'm getting 45% saving. If I go with the bigger size, the bigger the size, the greater the discount. Where it was very big server, 11 TB RAM. Understand, 11 TB RAM, not disk here. So it is a bigger the server. If I pay for 3 years upfront, I'll get 65% saving. I mean, there is a problem here. If I paid for 3 years and I got the 65% discount, my business is ended in a year. They don't reimburse, they don't pay. Once you paid, you paid. There is no reimbursement for the reserved instances, reserved servers, dedicated host. You are buying it, you paid upfront. The amount whatever you paid upfront will not be reimbursable. You if I reserved a server with the lowest possible cost, but after 1.5 years I'm claiming I'm going to the Microsoft, my business is over, I don't want to use this. No, we cannot give you back. You do whatever you want to do with that host. You do something else, we don't care. You paid it, you reserved it, you got that deeper discount already applied, we cannot get it back. So it is conditions apply. So anyway, companies knows it, it is not your headache, but anyway you can suggest if someone doesn't know that. Reserved instances will come at predefined cost. That cost will not be reimbursed, though you don't use it after a while. But you have to pay upfront before you use it. That is called Azure dedicated host. You can pay pay as you go, use first and pay later at the end of the month. That is also there, but a cost is very costly. 20%, 46% extra here. So that way you'll get the great like savings with the reserved instances. But in case of destroyal, you cannot, still you have to pay it. There is no other way. So if you have the dedicated host, your company bought it, you can use it. We had one of the client long ago. He used to have multiple dedicated hosts. Okay, we used to create the machines on that dedicated host. So it up to the client to client. Now what I'm supporting, there is no dedicated host at all for the entire infrastructure. I mean, he's not interested in, he's only going with the logical objects. Capacity reservations, you already done reservation. How long you're doing the reservation on that host? When you're buying it, you can do it, but I cannot do with a pay as you go workload. Proximity placement group, this is very important. So what exactly the proximity placement group, let me explain. First, a region is not just one data center, hundreds of data centers. Okay, one region will have a lot of data centers. It can be one, it can be 100, it can be 200 data center also within one region. One region covers a lot of area. In fact, it's a very big in physical distance wise. So I'll tell you what exactly the proximity placement group mean. Every project must be tagged. One project, one PPG. That is a rule. This is how the data center, I mean region. This is a region, one region, and it has these many data center. Assume a case, this is how it will be. So there will be set of data center which will support certain size. If I go to here, these data centers supporting 2 CPUs and 4 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM. 2 CPUs, 4 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM. If I go to here, this data centers supporting 32 CPUs, 128 GB RAM, 16 CPUs, 64 GB RAM. They have their own data centers like this. And one more data centers here, just for the case here. This is supporting maybe 128 CPUs and 512 GB RAM. Okay, here it is supporting maybe 64 CPUs, 256 GB RAM. Assume a case. I need to build a server, one server here, one server in this here, one server here, one server in this sizes. Assume a case. If you see this one, this is too far. All the servers are too far physically, right? So this is what when proximity placement group comes into picture, in fact. So here, if every one project need to have one PPG, we'll call it as PPG in short form. One project, all web servers, all database servers, all servers deployed, all services, not just a server, all services should be deployed under one PPG. What does PPG do? In fact, when you create a server first time, it is created here as a case. Next server it will create here only. Why? It is nearest. Next server will be created here only. Why? Because it is nearest to this one. Next server, if I create in this one, it will create in the first data center only. Not it will not go to, because what it try to do, it will try to make the servers as closer as possible in the background. It is a fully algorithmic operation. You don't have to do anything. It does in the background for you. If you tag PPG is free, anybody can, it is a logical configuration. I should have created in the beginning. If I created a PPG before, I can claim it on every VM as the project required. So one project, one PPG. It is mandatory to get the better performance. These are all design must be done. If the people don't do the design, the VMs won't scale because the data is scattered. The servers got scattered to larger distances. The network will be latency wise, network will be the more latency. The data transfers will get delayed, right? So PPGs are important for every VM you create. Keep in mind, every VM, every project, one project, one PPG. And one project will have web servers, database servers, middleware servers, whatever the servers it has, it doesn't matter. All should be together kept under one PPG. So if you keep under one PPG, I mean one region only. If you go one project into different region also, and the target region also, that project need to have that region PPG. PPGs are region specific. If I'm creating PPG in Central India for one project, it will be for the entire project that will be claimed. If I am using for the same project in a different region also, there also I need to create one more separate PPG for that in that region. So it is a region specific. When you create the servers under PPG, it will try to keep the servers as closer as possible. It does not let the infrastructure to scatter the servers. It will try to keep as closer as possible by default. It is algorithmic operation. You don't go and ask. It is already there. The functionality it does claim in the background. You guys able to follow this? It's very important.
Can you
If you
please
miss out,
tell that region specific in PPG? I didn't get that.
one PPG can be created in each region. So let me tell you this. So example, I have this one region. There is one more region. Okay, this region PPG is not accessible in this region. Project one only. Project one is having the servers here and here in this region, in this. So this PPG I have created, this PPG only accessible under one region. I cannot claim under a different region. For this project, I need to create another PPG in another region also, so that all servers, whatever I create, they'll try to keep closer there also. So if your one project, servers are creating in one region, one PPG is enough. But if your project is created the servers in different regions, in each region, its associated PPG should be created not to mess up. Here one PPG because it's one region, here one more PPG in another region because the same project anyway. So any VM you create, it should be part of the PPG, as simple as it is. But the PPGs are region specific. One PPG defined in one region will not be browsable, or you cannot. If I'm creating the VM in Central India PPG only I can find in the drop down. I cannot find the PPG of West India here. You have to create your own PPG in the West India also for that project. Getting the point? Yes or no?
So when we have one particular project with different region means PPG also will be having the same number of
Right.
okay.
In how many data center, how many regions it is going through, that many PPGs for that project, because that is isolated to one region. Each PPG is isolated to one region only. It cannot go to multiple regions.
Okay.
Tagging we will
So
see separately, and then
in the if so in the, if we create that PPG and putting multiple regions there, so all the servers can able to ping to each other.
no, it is region specific. That's what I'm saying. It's region specific.
So,
So
means
Ravinder, we
there is
don't
no
have to create any.
on the connectivity only the
You're a little breaking, Ajit. Actually, for what reason? Your voice is breaking a little. Yeah, someone else is trying to ask. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Ravinder. So we don't have to create any proximity here. It will be
We don't have to
created by
create any.
default or
No, you have to create.
PPG
You
here.
have to create
Yeah.
PPG. You have to create manually. It is your you have to create in the beginning itself before you create a VM. If I click here, this will be gone.
Okay.
Let me deploy this. I'll show you how to create PPG. I'm creating the VM. Don't worry,
Does
we'll talk about
PPG has any does PPG has any connection to fault domain? You are explaining fault domain, right?
no.
You said
Fault domain does not apply to PPG. The fault domain is taking care of going into one data center only entirely. You're not going multiple data centers. You're going to one
okay.
data center only. The fault domain. That is only for the servers, which a group of servers it applies. In fact, okay. Fault domain applies for the standalones. In fact, fault domain, when you create availability set, it is keeping within the data center, within the racks. It is talking about. So it will go to one data center. In fact.
so Ravinder able to hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So when we create a PPG, so the other servers which are going to be in a one PPG, are they able to connect with each other?
They are
Means
they are
if
going
there
to
is
connect
any
or
kind
not.
of connectivity,
See,
that's the reason we are
connectivity.
creating PPG.
No, it's not about the connectivity. It is about the region nearest accessible. Like you create your own networking module to make them communicate anyway. You have to do that. I'm going to show that. But they are going to load as closer as possible so that it can have a better inter VM communication when they communicate, because they are closer. But networking wise, whether they connect or not, what network you defined, again, that also matters. It is only logically, I mean, you are telling that I need the servers to be physically together almost as possible, as closer as possible. But this VM will
What
communicate to
is the
this one.
use of this?
What you use means it is a
What is
better VM communication, inter VM communication. The closer, the better the data transfer, right? The farther the data transfer will be delayed.
okay,
That is the only advantage you get it. Okay.
okay,
This VM will talk to this VM or not. We will define the role whether that should talk or not talk as a business requirement. We'll see that side anyway.
okay.
So I'm creating this VM. How much charge I'm getting? 1 rupee per hour. If I run for 3 hours, 3 rupees. Right after your practice, you destroy the resource group. It will destroy the entire VM and everything. So every time you practice, you create a fresh resource in the cloud. Don't keep anything behind this. Clean the entire slate. Clean every time you practice. Then recreate. Your bill will be absolutely low. I mean, $10 is a maximum for US. Indians maximum 3 to 400. So you have to do that. Keep a habit of doing it. I'm creating a VM. This will take few minutes. Meanwhile, let's talk about PPG. right? PPG means proximity placement group, somewhere it should be.
So, Ravinder, what happen if we are having two servers and each one is in different region? Then how they will communicate or how they can like
That I'll talk about a separate discussion. We have a discussion. One is in India, one is in US. How do they communicate? How we make them to communicate in the background using the networks? So that we have a topic in the networking. Don't worry, I'm not finishing anything yet. I'll give an entire picturization. How not just the SQL, you get the good infrastructure knowledge also, like how the servers will communicate, how networks will communicate, how this entire like a real world simulates. I'll simulate everything. I'll show you because that required knowledge, not just the SQL itself. Infrastructure talks about a lot of things along with the these things anyway. We're going to talk about by default they won't communicate one region to the region, but you have to make them communicate. How is topic. We want to see that in practical. Each region will have its own network. You cannot keep one network in multiple region. Or networks are also region specific. One network will not communicate with other network, but you have to make them trust with the data tunneling. You should make that. So how do you do that? We're going to do extra layer of configuration for that in the cloud. One thing is when the VM get deployed, there it will go through three stages: installation, submission, any service for that matter, any service in the cloud. When you deploy, I should have shown that first
ISD.
installation, yeah, ISD, installation, submission, deployment, ISD, yeah. So that is a short form of it. If anyone asks you that what are the a service will go through when you submit, it goes through three stages: installation, submission, deployment. Any small or big doesn't matter. All services will go through the three stages. Right. So we created availability set, right? Where is the availability set? It is also a service here. Virtual machine skill set, availability sets. I created only one VM for now. It will be tagged 00. See, it is 00. If I create a next server, 11. If I create a third server, 22. If I create a fourth server, 0 and 3. Because it is fault domain, we created a fault domain of 3, right? 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. That way it will go through. This one. I have to create more VMs to show you better. We'll do that more VMs creation tomorrow. But now, if I go to the VM is not scaling with the CPU. How do I know the VM is not scaling with the CPU? Signal weights. There is a we will talk about this when we start the product anyway. There is something called signal weights, CPU signal weights. If the signal weights are up to less than 50, 15, 1, 5, it is good. Means your CPU having a good time to spend with your workload. If the signal weights are going above 15, you definitely have to think of adding more CPUs. And RAM, PLE, page life expectancy. It should have less than greater than 300, at least 300 seconds, 5 minutes. At least a page should sit in the memory continuous 5 minutes. It should not flush. If it is flushing means it is reading the data continuously, new data it is reading and loading and flushing the old data. Again it is reading the same data again when it is required. The recycling of reading again and again will hit the performance. You should have a better caching capacity. To have a better caching capacity, you need to have better RAM. So these are all interconnected, guys. So now if I wanted to connect to this machine, I quickly do this. I wanted to scale a VM in terms of CPU. This can well cover tomorrow. CPU and memory, how do you scale it if required? So after tomorrow class, you start creating your subscription because we're going to go through a lot of practicals. You have to follow with me. If I go to here, it has only 1 CPU and 1 GB RAM. And we evaluated that this VM is not scaling with the current workload, just for the case. So what we're going to do, we're going to scale the VM. How do you scale the VM? It is dying because it has only 1 CPU. Oh, sorry. You see this one? So basically the OS itself will take up the RAM, 100%, 90%, all that, because 1 CPU, 1 GB RAM. I wanted to scale this up. How? Go to the VM on which you wanted to scale. There is something called size. Click on the size. Click on the next size. 1 CPU to 1 GB RAM to 2 CPUs, 4 GB RAM. Resize. One click. It does the scaling of a VM, but it will require a downtime. It restart the VM. It is shutting down. See this? As I am scaling it up, it is restarting it, and the operation is in progress at the moment. Resizing the virtual machine. It is under deployment at the moment.
Ravinder, you were talking about signaling, right? Where did you see that?
I'll
Where we
talk
can
about
see
it.
that?
I'll show
Okay.
you that. I'm just saying you that factor, but when we start the product, we'll talk about that. That is a factor. You can say that CPU under pressure, PLEs and disk, all these three factors you must analyze. At least tuning is different story, but at least the current deployed hardware is sufficient for the VM or not. At least that level of knowledge everyone must have it. I'll talk about it. We have a discussion, don't worry. So resizing the VM, once it gets restarted, then I mean it comes with a 2 CPU and 4 GB RAM. So if you go to here in the page overview, it is still doing the job. It is not reflected yet. If it is changed, you will find that 2 CPUs 4 GB RAM here. What is the size of the VM? Without getting entry into the VM also you can say from here. What is the size of the VM? Yeah, it anyway will be done. We are over time. So we will see this again. This is might take time because small VM, right? So scaling from here to the higher side will take time. This is a basic VM. Many people will have it. So scaling will take a little longer. Yeah, tell me.
Ravinder, like when you're creating a VM, you are selecting a region, right? And prior to that, when you're creating a resource group, also you are selecting a region. So, is there any dependency between both this one?
No, 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 no. Resource group is logical entity, does not have any relationship with the resource in it, with the region. Only you have
Okay,
to create a resource group in one region. That's why you're mentioning it. I have a resource group in Central India doesn't mean that I have to create every resource in Central India only. I can create all the region across the globe. It's just a logical
okay,
entity, just showing that project.
okay, okay.
A good question. Pick this question tomorrow. I'll talk about this quickly and then move on. Okay. So this is all
Okay.
about for today. We will start more practicals tomorrow, guys. A lot of practicals. Okay. So be on time, guys. I'm stopping the video.